In 2024, I've had a huge amount of success with big bass in extremely shallow water, often less than 1 metre in depth. I've shot more big bass this year than in the 3 previous years of spearfishing put together, and I've only been out about 10 times. Here's a video full of top tips and hints for you to improve your shallow stalking. Now, most of the big bass that I've found have been in pretty remote marks off the Isle of Anglesey, and points like this one are absolutely perfect. I'll explain why in a minute or so. One thing that's great about these areas is you can go and do little recce's, and of course you can get up on these headlands and you can look down into the water, as you can see Bobby Burns doing here, looking for the shallow reefs these bass love to live on. Often a bit of a difficult walk in, but when you see reefs like this, you know that you're in. Now, on these points, you get large amounts of dead crabs washed up in the shallows, and it's particularly good in areas where there's a lot of flat sand leading up to the point. And as you just cruise over these reefs here, you'll often just see a bass appear on the sand line just at the edge of the reef. This would be quite an easy shot here, a nice 5-pound fish sat there, but I'm really looking for something a bit bigger here. And so often as you cruise over the reef really calmly, really slowly, you'll see a good bass. Of course, sometimes they come so close it can be difficult to get an accurate shot. And I somehow managed to miss this fish and nick it through the back. Now, generally when I see free swimming bass like this, I don't bother trying to shoot them. All of the big ones I've had, in fact every single big bass I've been shot has just been sat in a gully like this one here. You can see I just leave this one alone, it's not quite big enough. You know, it's only about 55 centimetres or so. But this one here is a bit bigger, between the rocks. It thinks it's safe, doesn't try and spook. I get a perfect headshot there at point blank range. And again, as you drift over these rocks, you see bass just sat on the sand by the side of the rocks, and I think they get a bit of protection from the groundswell, and that's like that they like to rest up there. Now this next clip's taken a different session. See how much clearer the water is. And you can see this bass, just how calm it is down here. Those of you that watch my videos for a while know that I really like to take my time before pulling the trigger. And I'm just really weighing up, is it worth shooting this bass or not? And if you're spooking bass, then that's a sign that you're doing something wrong in your diving. The bass should be reacting to you like these ones are here, literally just sat there. Now, one thing that I do when I'm shallow stalking is I never fin at all. I pull myself along on the kelp or along rocks, or I use my left hand to waft myself along, and I move so slowly. And this gives you the best chance with big fish like the one you're going to see here. This is probably the biggest bass I've had a chance on this year. This is probably approaching double figures. I reckon this is about 8 or 9 pounds. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of groundswell here, and you can see the bass moving, and it's moving at a different speed to what I'm moving on the surface. And should I got a bit closer before putting the trigger? Maybe, but that is an absolute stonker that I missed out on there. Now, in this next clip, you'll see an example of how difficult it can be to size up bass. Now, these bass are all pretty big, you're going to see in this clip. These are all probably 5 or 6 pounds plus, some of them probably 7 pounds plus. When the bass are quite dark in colour like this, then you can tell they're pretty big. Yeah, that one there, that first one I saw, there's another big one there, that's probably an 8 pounder. And I didn't shoot, I got too picky. You can see how calmly this bass is moving. If the fish are moving calmly around you, then that's a sign that you're spearfishing quite well. See again here, really calm fish. Could have drilled this one easily. Then an absolute beast appears from my left. Really big fish, and I just never quite line up enough to shoot it. There it is. See how fat that one is there. I move around the rocks, hoping for another chance. I do see the big bass again, but it's just not lined up. And I've got an 85 centimetre gun here. A 70 would be more appropriate in these conditions. You know, I've had problems with not being able to track onto the fish fast enough, whereas I've never been out of range. So a small gun in these conditions for sure would be more appropriate. And yet again, just drifting over a boulder, and seeing the bass down below on the sand. Another good fish there, that's about 60 centimetres. But I decide to not take the shot because again, I'm looking for something significantly bigger than this. I'm looking for something sort of £7 plus really in this session. And you can see here it's a bit deeper. Shooting a bass in 3 or 4 metres off the surface is actually quite hard. When there's any kind of significant groundswell at all, then it does become very difficult to get an accurate shot. So I'll just leave all of these alone. Now you'll see here a small bass in the gully, and in the next clip I come across 2 bass in this gully, one pretty small, probably undersized, one 4 or 5 pounder, but I see a hole in the kelp behind these, and I suspect there might be a significantly larger fish sat in the hole out of sight. This is a very shootable fish here, pretty nice fish, but I let this one just swim off, spook it a bit more than I'd like to, and just watch this clip for how long you've got, and also the sort of terrain that the biggest fish like to live in. See 2 bass in this hole in the kelp. It's hard to know which one's bigger. In hindsight, the one on the left I don't shoot is probably bigger, but I'm just weighing it up here. And as that bass spooks, I shoot this next one. This fish was 68 centimetres, so around £7. Really happy with that one. Got a perfect shot on it too. Nice bass taken, and it was time to look for something even bigger. Now the stringweed, of course, is always an excellent area to stalk in. You get a lot of mullet in this stringweed, but I barely ever shoot them. You know, I've not even shot a mullet so far this year. And soon you'll see a bass just see how it just moves out there. Yeah, it's a nice sort of 4.5 pound fish there, but I leave that well alone because, as I said, I'm looking for something genuinely big in this session. It can be very difficult to shoot into the stringweed because you just can't see the fish in there, because I'm looking into the sun here as well, so it makes it a bit harder because everything looks so dark underneath me. And this bass appears, track it, both hands on the gun. And I genuinely thought I'd missed him. See, this other bass just move out there, but I had hit it. This was a very, very good fish. 69 centimetres. That's probably just over £7. It was quite a fat one too. See the size of the head in it there. Very, very happy with that fish. So, great session. 2 £7 bass shot. And myself and Bobby thoroughly enjoyed these fish. Cooked them in the holiday let that I've just renovated on Anglesey. And did a really nice recipe. Bobby cooked them with like crispy skin. It was really good. Olive oil drizzle and a really nice tomato sauce with them. Now, the next video, I dive with some absolutely massive shoals of bass. We do a bit of line fishing as well. It's quite nice doing some catch and release. So if you enjoyed that video and you want to see more like this, like it, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I can see that going.
Look at it.
Jesus, that's going properly, isn't it?
That's a fucking stonker.
Yeah, that looks like a really good bass.
Look at him run.
Mate, this is a big fish. Now, I always do try and add as much value and tips as possible, rather than just bulking out my videos with loads of catch and cooks. So if you enjoyed this video, drop me a comment and let me know anything you want to see in the next one.